Yes, the dreaded Monday night primetime game in Chicago for the Minnesota Vikings, something that we haven't had success doing in a very long time. So you might be wondering why, if you watched the picks video, and if you didn't, spoiler, I'll spoil it now. I picked the Minnesota Vikings in the pick video this week to beat the Chicago Bears in Chicago for the first time in 3 years. And statistically, when you look up here at the board with the tail of the tape, compare the two teams' records, you would be thinking, that's kind of a bold move that seems like a fool's errand. And I hope you're not wagering money on it anyway. But I don't know what it is. I don't feel overly confident in the matchup given the statistical analysis, but I do feel confident in the momentum and the fact that this might just be the thing that breaks the hot hand, if you will. So for a number of years, the Bears have swept the Minnesota Vikings in the season series. We are 0-4 in the last 2 years, in 2018 and 2019. We did sweep them in that wonderful 2017 season. And that is, of course, the last time that we got a win against Chicago was in 2017. And it's funny because that's also the last time that we've won in Chicago. For the last 10 years, though, the Bears have pretty much kicked our asses. We are 12-8 we are 8-12 against Chicago since 2010, if my math is correct. And history is just not on our side for this game. But I think that there are some things that give the Vikings a little bit of an edge, and we'll go over those in a moment. But first, we're going to talk about how the two teams match up on paper. The Vikings are 3-5 heading into this Monday night matchup. The Bears are 5-4. They have lost 3 straight. The Minnesota Vikings have won 2 straight. So we have two conflicting tangents, if you will. For the offensive side comparisons, it's pretty much a 50-50. We have one team that's really good at running the ball, the Minnesota Vikings, who come in third in the rushing in the NFL. Dalvin Cook is your leading NFL rusher. And then we have a Chicago Bears team that can't run the football worth a damn. At halftime last week, their leading rusher with 11 yards was a friggin' linebacker, Markevius Mingo. They can pass the ball better, at least statistically, compared to the Vikings. Vikings are 25th in passing. The Bears are 20th in passing, but even myself, and as an outsider, not a Bears fan, has got to start to wonder if we may see Mitchell Trubisky come back as the quarterback to take over the majority of the snaps for this team, because the Nick Foles experiment isn't really all that much better, and the offense has really faltered. Now, does Matt Nagy blame himself for that? Probably. But at the same time, you have to put a little bit of it on the shoulders of the player for not producing and performing the given playbook. As far as total offense, the Vikings have somehow creeped up to 10th in the league. The Bears have fallen to 29th overall in the league, and that's really because of that anemic run game. Pass protection favors the Bears, 17th in the league, compared to the Vikings, 25th overall, and we're going to get to more on that in a minute with the surprising release this week of Pat Elflein. On the defensive side of the ball, this is where the Bears have the edge. They are 9th overall in total defense compared to the Vikings, that is 29th overall in the league. Against the pass, the Bears are 7th. Against the run, they're 14th, and their pass rush efficiency is 10th overall. The Vikings against the pass, 30th, against the run, 20th, and pass rush efficiency is 17th. Hasn't really gotten any better since the Yannick Ngakoue trade, and you got to wonder if they sort of regret that a little bit, right? Because you come out of the bye week after trading Ngakoue, now you go on a 2-game winning streak. Suddenly the schedule is favorable with the Bears, the Jaguars, and the Cowboys all on tap. You could probably put yourself in a position to make a run at the playoffs, given that we're having an expanded playoff field this year. So is there some regret in that Yannick Ngakoue trade? Maybe a little bit, but at the same time, how can you predict what's going to happen in the future? And coming off the loss to the Falcons, everybody, myself included, was in burn it down mode. So, I don't blame them for the Ngakoue trade. I believe, funny thing is, he's still the sack leader, technically, of the team. He still has the most sacks for the Vikings this year, even despite having not been on the team for a number of weeks. But that will change, as, the weeks go on. So, as far as the Bears defense, why they have the edge, not only are they good statistically, this is a team that can tackle, right? So against the Lions, you look at a team that was just really had a porous run defense. This is going to be a big time change of pace. It's going to force a lot of 8-man in the box against Dalvin Cook, and they're going to do their job and wrap him up. This isn't going to be one of those games where there's accidentally 10 men on the field and they find a seam to the left side and Dalvin Cook takes it to the house for 70 yards. I don't foresee those kind of plays happening against the Bears defense. I really don't. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult. They're really going to have to earn the ground game, the Vikings are. So I expect, or at least in terms of what you would consider to do as an armchair coach, would be to stack the box and make Kirk Cousins beat you, because Kirk Cousins in prime time, 0-9 on Monday Night Football. And it's just one of those things where he's playing bad this year. He's really regressed. He's been in the league X number of years. We've seen him peak. This is it. We're not getting any more out of him. He's not going to be a number one Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. It's not going to happen. This is what he is. We found it. We found the missing link. Sorry to disappoint you. It's not that good. So they're going to have to make Kirk Cousins beat him, and I think that's probably going to be the strategy. As far as the keys to victory for both teams, for the Vikings, it's another point that I've just been hammering home since the first half of the season, and that is time of possession. This defense is not good enough to be out there for long drives and long lengths of time. They're going to get worn out really quick. The depth is not good because of all of the injuries that we've lost this year, and also because of the inexperience in the secondary. So the defense being on the field longer than it needs to be is, greatly, what's the word for it? Whatever the opposite of good is. Not the word bad. There's a word I can't think of. But anyway, it's not great. Can't do it. Can't have that defense being out there for long periods of time. It is a complete and total disaster when that happens. So time of possession is what they need to do. That means running the ball with Dalvin Cook, keeping the chains moving, sustaining long drives, putting it in the end zone, scoring points. All things you need to do to win a football game. And if we're going to go with the Mike Zimmer formula of winning football games, that's what they have to do. As far as the Bears go, their key to victory is score first and force the Minnesota Vikings to make a change. Force them to get away from their game plan. They want to run the ball, hand it off 25 times, whatever, throw maybe 13, 14 if they have to. But with this Bears defense, you can force them to do a whole number of things. And if you score first and you score early, you can make them do things that they don't want to do, which is throw the ball down the field. As far as the Bears' ultimate key to victory, I think it's you got to lead for the entire game. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring affair unless there is some serious blown coverages in that Bears secondary. I anticipate probably somewhere like a 10-13 finish, if I had to guess. If the Bears can handle Dalvin Cook, which I think they can. I think they're aptly built to handle it. And the fact that they get the curse of the primetime matchup with Kirk Cousins on the other side, they have that in history going for them. So I think if the Bears can handle the workload that Dalvin Cook is likely going to get, and if they can score first, keep the game close, slow everything down, maintain time of possession on the offense, they can definitely win this football game. So those are the keys to victory. Top storylines, we've already mentioned a few of them. Kirk Cousins 0-9 on Monday Night Football. If the Vikings get the win tonight, he's going to get the 1 in the win column. He'll be 1-9 on Monday Night Football, but I don't think he will have earned it. The only way for them to win this game is for Kirk Cousins not to participate, as we've seen the last 2 weeks. That's the formula, because you compare and contrast the first 5-6 weeks of the season, then you compare and contrast that with the last 2 weeks with the 2 victories. Kirk Cousins not participating is what's needed to win games. Yes, there was that win against the Texans, but the Texans are brutally terrible, and we were one dropped Will Fuller touchdown away from losing that one. That's always going to stick in the back of my mind. So, Kirk Cousins, if they win this game, it's nice, but I don't think you're going to get that much credit unless you really blow the top off of this defense and actually put up really good numbers and don't look like trash doing it. The Vikings did release Pat Elflein this week after they took him off injured reserve. Kind of surprising, and I think many others in the Vikings community thought this was pretty weird, given that depth at guard is, pretty atrocious, especially now. Is Pat Elflein a terrible guard / offensive lineman? Yeah, he's been terrible since they drafted him in 2017. Releasing him makes a lot of sense. Doing it right now doesn't make a lot of sense because you need the depth behind Dakota Dozier and Ezra Cleveland. But I guess they're happy with Drew Samia, and that's what they're going to roll with. They're going to go with Dozier and Cleveland and have Samia be the backup and let Pat Elflein go somewhere else to try to resurrect his career. Matt Nagy is done with play calling. He has handed that off, and he will no longer be doing it. And I don't know how much that changes, but I will say this. It kind of reminds me of the amount of, not like pressure it takes off of a team, but it kind of reminds me of like the quarterback, or not the quarterback, the head coach firing, right? So you get Dan Quinn fired in Atlanta, Raheem Morris takes over, suddenly that team looks good, right? Everything is how it should have been at week 1. You take Matt Nagy out of the play calling situation, which has been atrocious, as you see by the numbers here, and maybe that flips a switch. Maybe they get more inspired. Maybe they get more energetic. Maybe that does something that releases guys like Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller, and this offense opens up. That remains to be seen, but that is something to keep an eye on. Montgomery in the concussion protocol. I don't know if he's going to be able to make this one. That really hinders the running game because you're going to have guys back there like Null and what's his name, Cordell Patterson. Not a traditional, backfield, if you will, but that's what they have to work with. And then Irv Smith Jr. looks like he's likely to be out with his groin injury, did not practice. So that is concerning given how involved he's been in both the running game and the passing game these past couple of weeks with the key blocks in the run game and the overall step up in production from a receiver standpoint. So he will be missed. And that's going to do it for this preview for this game. Yes, I am picking the Vikings to win. It's one of those weeks where I am picking underdogs, and I do believe the Vikings are an underdog going into a stadium where they haven't played well, going up against a team where they haven't played well no matter where they are. So, but I think the things are just kind of like falling into place for them right now. The Bears are on the slide. I've been calling them fraudulent since the beginning of the season. This is not a 5-1 team. This is who they really are. They're 5-4, probably looking at a 6-10. Best case scenario, 8-8 for Chicago this year, I think. The Vikings, they're playing with false hope right now. I don't think, there's a legitimate outside mathematical shot that they can get in the playoffs as the final team to get in. But at the same time, they're doing themselves no favors as they look to the future with all of these meaningless wins, if you will, because this is the breaking point for the Vikings. If they come into this game and lose it, end up 3-6 on the season, then this season is completely lost. Everything after this is just evaluation. So this is what they need to stay alive. This win on Monday night is what they're going to need to stay alive if the playoff hopes are real. So we'll evaluate it after the game on Monday and go from there. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.